Venat, the crystal mommy we have all grown to love as Hydaelyn. Over the course of our journey as the Warrior of Light, she has been our rock and foundation for everything we have done, and has inspired us to go farther and push harder. But what if she isn't the holy saint that we have all grown to love? What if she isn't as good as we all paint her out to be? What if, out of the ancients that we have met along the way, she is the worst? She may be the last of her kind to fall, but perhaps she isn't the least. Today, I am going to ask that we set aside our preconceived ideas and really ask the question, is Venat truly all that good? For this conversation, we are going to have to start at the beginning. And no, I am not talking about the beginning for our Warrior of Light, but the events on Elpis that set in motion the final days and led to our beginning as the Warrior of Light. If you have played through Endwalker, you are already familiar with the events that take place on Elpis. If not, well, I am not entirely sure why you are watching this video, and should probably leave now and play the game. Anyways, back to the conversation. On Elpis, we have Emmett, Hydaelyn, Venat, and Hermes, all playing a role in how the events leading to the end days will unfold. Oh, and obviously we can't forget about the Warrior of Light. We are sent back in time to ascertain the situation that brought about our current plight, and the familiar faces we run into as the Warrior of Light help us in our inquiry. It soon comes to light that Hermes asked a question that was on his heart to the universe. What do you live for, or why do you live? Hermes asks this question by means of Medion, the delightful bird creature that he created, with Dynamis being her main source of existence, and thus feeling out the emotions of other beings and reacting to those. Basically, a super empath. However, as Hermes sends out the creation into the vast dark void of the universe, perhaps it is as Emmett Selk later proposes, that it may be a flawed premise to ask the question when the answer might be nothing, or even the contrary, they don't want to live at all. This is in fact the answer that the universe shouts back. Life is pain, sorrow, and meaningless. All is suffering, and thus should be silenced. This causes Medion to join voices with the universe, to silence all things that live, so that they may find sweet rest in nothingness, thus creating our problem. This brings us to the responses of our characters. Hermes proposes that he evens the playing field and allow for mankind the chance to try and avert the final days, if he can find the answer to the problem. He then says that he is going to erase the memories of all present with Kairos. He then charges Medion to go to the edge of the universe as she stated, and that he will remain to be with mankind. However, this doesn't sit well with the others present. They free themselves and move to confront Hermes and Medion. Unable to stop Medion, they are able to make a way for the Warrior of Light to escape, and Venat and the Warrior of Light escape with their memories intact, but not before Venat is able to put an ethereal tracker on Medion. Unfortunately, in the turn of events, Hermes, Emmett, and Hydaelyn lose their memories. Venat, after having escaped with the Warrior of Light, proposes that she cannot tell everyone of the plight to come, because this may cause panic and turmoil. She also can't tell the 14, because Hermes is now part of that, and he will be needed to assist with the calamity to come. So she determines to work independently. If everyone is divided, they could not hope to fight Medion. The goal is to unite as many as possible. Thus, you are sent back to play your role in your time, as she remains in her time to play hers. This brings us to our question. Is Venat justified for going about the things the way that she did, and moving forward, keeping the events, erasing the memories of Emmett, Hermes, and Hydaelyn a secret? The problem here is that Venat kept the information a secret from people, not giving them the opportunity to prove themselves against the calamity. We know that Emmett would have listened to her and given things an honest go. Emmett does the same thing with the Warrior of Light just moments before. He even goes on to say, no matter how ludicrous the claim, it is his responsibility to find the truth to the claims. Her silence deprives the ancients of the opportunity to stand against Medion and seals their doom. In the words of Louis Soir, to ignore the plight of those one might conceivably save is not wisdom, it is indolence. She had the ability to speak out and give a chance to the ancients, but instead kept this information a secret unto herself. Venat ends up becoming Hydaelyn, and her decision to not tell Emmett Selk and the other members of the convocation about the final days was a morally questionable choice at best. Mommy Hydaelyn knew about the final days and had the ability to warn the convocation, but chooses not to do so. This decision ultimately leads to the convocation's misguided attempts to summon powerful beings known as the Primals, which only serve to hasten the world's destruction. Hydaelyn's decision to withhold this information from the convocation was morally wrong because it led to the suffering and deaths of countless innocent people. The Convocation's actions in summoning the primals caused widespread devastation and loss of life, which could have been prevented if Hydaelyn had warned them about the impending danger. Furthermore, Hydaelyn's choice to sunder the world in order to defeat Zodiark, the being created by the Convocation to save the world from the final days, was also morally questionable. While defeating Zodiark was necessary to prevent the end of the world, the sundering of the world caused immense suffering and loss of life. The people of the world were forced to endure centuries of strife and conflict as a result of this cataclysmic event. Hydaelyn's decision to sunder the world was also morally wrong because it undermined the free will of the people of the world. The sundering of the world created a situation in which the people of the world were forced to fight for their survival in a harsh and unforgiving environment as everything was recreated. This led to a world where the strong dominated the weak and the innocent suffered. In addition, Hydaelyn's actions ultimately led to the creation of the Ascians. The Ascians are a product of the sundering of the world, and their actions have caused untold suffering and devastation. Hydaelyn's actions in not warning the Convocation about the final days and sundering of the world were morally wrong. Her choices led to the suffering and deaths of countless innocent people, undermined the free will of the people of the world, and ultimately led to the creation of the Ascians. While her actions may have been necessary to prevent the end of the world, the cost is too high, and the ends do not justify the means. In response to this, some of the arguments I have heard for Venat is that it could erase the time we came from and the lives that have lived. A counter-argument would be that we as the Warriors of Light end up doing the same exact thing in Shadowbringer. In the Shadowbringer's expansion, our best catboy, Graha, comes from the future by means of the Crystal Tower to the first to deal with the calamity befalling them. In the future where Graha comes from, when the calamity happens, the future is filled with death and despair, so he comes back to change the future and prevent it from happening. However, it could be said in so doing, all those people that lived in that future are then erased, just like if Venat would change the course of history in her time on Elpis. So there really is no difference between that and what Venat would be doing. The other argument is that the world has to be sundered in order for us to confront Medion and defeat Dynamis. The problem is that this is only continuing the ends justify the means mentality. The ancients had to die in order for us to defeat Medion. This kind of thinking strips the ancients of their ability to have fought for their right in their own way and be given the choice. I think for a lot of people, the reason they justify Hydaelyn is because she is mommy. They have been with her for so long that some people have a hard time holding her accountable for her actions. However, if the roles were reversed and we were Emmett Selk and Hydaelyn was a character in our story withholding information from us to save the world and people we loved, we would probably count her as a villain. Guys, these are just my thoughts and opinions on this. I hope you guys join in on the conversation. I am interested in hearing your thoughts and arguments, and I am positive that there are people who will disagree with me, and that is totally fine. The beautiful thing about the characters in Final Fantasy XIV is that they are relatable and ambiguous in their motivations, and that's what makes them so good. Final Fantasy XIV is one of my favorite games, and I have enjoyed every minute of the journey, but I wanted to share my thoughts and hear from everyone else. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you all in our continued adventure. Stand tall, my friends.